All right. Do you love eating pie? Do you love being alive? Then you might love this screenplay that we're reading tonight. That was a very, very fun and quirky TV show, Pushing Daisies.
I thought Pushing Daisies referred to the dead.
Yes, exactly.
It does.
It refers to people dead and feeding the plants and pushing the daisies up to grow, I believe.
My Lord.
And that applies to this story, as we'll see here. And I know we have the writer's strike right now, and I believe, if my memory serves me correct, what I've heard about this one is that this was stopped and this was canceled long ago because of a previous writer's strike. So we can talk about that and other things in our after discussion. But for us to get there, we're going to first read it, and we have this awesome cast to read it. So I'm going to go around my little squares here. And first, I have Ben Wan to welcome back.
Thanks. I'm Ben Wan. I'm happy to be here. This is my second time on the show. Very different one this time. Previous one was on Batman, and so this is a very different main character, but this is going to be fun. I am the co-host for the podcast Superhero Stuff You Should Know. I'm a writer myself, as well as do some acting. I've done some voice acting for the scripted podcast Newverse Creative, where I do play a couple Batman villains coming up soon, and was recently in an independent short film that I produced and co-star in, that recently won an award for me, which was a surprise. So it's been a great year, and it's been a great year to sort of join and meet new people through this, and I will be performing as Ned tonight.
That is awesome. Yeah, so if you guys like anything superhero, their stuff is super interesting. I always see the posts on Instagram and YouTube, and I'm like, oh, like, you guys are good at writing the headlines and having interesting stuff, and how deep you guys go into it. I think it's always great.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for making that. Is your short film won an award, but is it out live where people can watch it yet?
Yeah, I can pull up the link for that. It's viewable on streaming, but essentially it's a fictionalized version of the podcast, and as part of it they got to use it as a narrative device, and so I end up playing myself, giving the exposition, but instead of talking about a superhero or real superhero film, it's about the fictional superhero film, fictional director who directed it in that short film. So it's fun.
Interesting. Yeah. After this, please send us the link, and we'll put it in the action description or in the comments below so other people can watch that. That's cool.
Awesome.
All right. Next, we have Angel Peterson.
Hi, I'm Angel Peterson, and I am also an actress / writer, and I guess a producer as well. I'll be putting together a documentary in 2024 to be out in 2025. And that hasn't totally begun, just the pre everything that happens before is happening now. So that's, and exciting. I'll be reading Chuck and action descriptions.
Awesome. It's exciting when you know the progress coming out that far ahead. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we look forward to seeing that and sharing that in 2025.
Yeah.
All right.
In the next couple of years.
Awesome. And next we have Vicky Dykes.
Hello, I'm Vicky Dykes. I'm from Central Alberta. I'm an actress, a yoga enthusiast, and we actually have set some plans, and we're going to be filming on that right away with Angel. And if you want to get a hold of me, I'm on Facebook under the name Vicky Dykes, and I'm on Instagram. I'm YogaGramma7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's another subject.
Yes. As we saw right there, like, this group has been wonderful. So for so many reasons, us reading all these scripts, some unpublished, some from TV, some from movies, new ones, classics, and then the community we have here, all you wonderful people. And what has blossomed from that. Heather might mention some of that later. I don't know if not.
Yeah, I
But-
wrote one based on an experience I had with my father dying of cancer a few years ago. So that's available on the channel if you want to look at it. And I know Angelina's written a couple, I believe. I don't know what they're called. I don't remember what they're called, but they were good. I think one was about hallucinating from drugs, I think. What was it? The cabin and some sort of flower or something?
Oh, I forgot
The
about
mural.
that. No,
mural?
that was
No?
a different one. That was the little
Oh.
mushroom
They were
one.
they had some
Oh,
sort of drug.
yeah, yeah,
I
the
forgot
short.
about that.
Yeah, fun guy.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
was
All right. So we have a lot of fun and
Sorry.
different relationships blossom and
Like,
different
what?
opportunities come up. So if you want to join us, go to the Facebook group, Table Read Tuesdays, and you can see the list of what we're reading and let us know that you're available and interested. And then we can have you here and get more friends and we'll all learn together.
yeah.
So next we have
Speaking of
Cat.
friends.
Yes, which we read last week.
Yes.
So
Just call back before we get to Cat.
yes.
So I'm Kat Foxfire Wilson. I am in Gig Harbor, Washington, and been reading with this group for almost a year, about maybe 9 months or so. Been a
Oh,
lot of fun. When I'm not reading here, I tend to be reading Shakespeare on certain Saturdays with 2 households in Fair Corona on Facebook. I know some of the folks here also read there too. Thank you. And so it's a lot of fun. And otherwise, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So
right on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great at all of those things. And next, we already spoke a little bit, but Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm an actor / voice actor. I'm a writer / freelance journalist, and I'm an independent filmmaker. Tonight, I will be playing Mother, newscaster, and Vivian. You can find my work on Facebook under Heather Lee Freelancer or on YouTube under the Storm and Latter-day Saint. My social media links are on my YouTube channel, and if you want to hire me, because I'm always looking for work, I'm such a beautiful workaholic, it's amazing. You can contact me on social media or at my email, heather.leigh@cameron@gmail.com. Thank you.
Awesome. And soon later, Morgan Toll will be joining us. Right now, she's setting up some great things for Streamerly. If you have favorite actors that you want to support during the strike, over on Streamerly, they have actors coming up and signing things live that you can buy and get from them, and they can do a shout out to you there. So she'll be joining us later. But
And something really cool. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to mention this.
no, I wasn't. So please do.
Okay, is her sister is a famous actress and she's going to be doing a signing as well. Her name is Olivia Holt. So if you're a Disney fan of the Disney Channel, she's
Cloak and
in.
Dagger. Right?
Yes, and
Cruel Summer
kicking it.
and Kicking It.
Cruel Summer is not Disney, I don't think,
no.
but it's a very popular series. So
Yep.
her
And they do other
all
stuff
of
for.
the-
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, her and all of the cast is, or many of the cast is available for signing as well. In an
Yeah.
upcoming.
That's the very next one. If you see this right away, that one's about to happen. So go to streamerly.com for that. But if you like anime, video games, whatever, they always have cool stuff coming up. But talking about cool stuff coming up, this has been the longest intro we've ever done. So we're going to get into
It's time
pushing
for us to
daisies.
push up some daisies because we're dead tired.
Yeah, we got to push these daisies before it's too late and we're pushing daisies. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to share the screen and Angel will start us out.
Sorry, Ben, that was so morbid.
Reading the action descriptions. So
All right.
Angel, when you're ready, you take us away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into the daisies, the daisy field. Pushing Daisies pilot, which I love. I love that. By Brian.
I think I caught that.
Could have
That's
been
great.
like 3.14 lit, etc.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, here we go. Act 1, Dirt. Camera moves up through the earth, finding the gnarled tips of perennial weeds. We rise up out of the soil, revealing a beautiful blooming daisy. In fact, it's an entire Exterior field of daisies. Day flashback. Camera flies over the welcome to Cour de Cours sign at the field's edge to find a bright, carefree boy of about 10, young Ned, racing through the flowers, sending petals flying as he chases his dog Digby, an adorable yellow lab as bright and carefree as young Ned. Our omniscient narrator, imagine Patrick Stewart, oh, that's so appropriate, reading a bedtime story begins.
At this very moment, in the town of Cour de Cours, young Ned was 9 years old, 27 weeks, 6 days, and 3 minutes old.
Young Ned is only a few feet behind his dog, 3 sets of legs speeding through the brush. He reaches out, trying to make contact, but Digby is just out of touch. Closer, closer. The brush gives way to a clearing. Closer, closer still.
His dog Digby was 3 years, 2 weeks, 6 days, 5 hours, and 9 minutes old.
Wham! Out of nowhere, Digby is hit by a passing semi-truck. A blur of big rig obscures the impact. Ned stops, horrified.
And not a minute older.
Time slows to a crawl. Fur sails through the air, as if Digby was taking flight by his own propulsions. All sound drops out except for the rapid rhythmic pounding of Ned's heart and an expansion and contraction of his lungs. He approaches the unmoving body of his dead dog Digby.
This was the moment that young Ned realized that he wasn't like other children, nor was he like anyone else for that matter.
Ned kneeled down beside Digby, and as he reaches out to stroke the dog's matted fur, camera jump cuts to an extreme close-up of Ned's finger. The ridges of his fingertip looks like a circular troughs. As Ned touches his dog, we see a small static pop of electricity between his finger and Digby's fur. Camera jumps wide. Time resumes to normal as Digby inexplicably scrambles to his feet with a happy dog smile on his face and runs off into the field of daisies.
Young Ned could touch dead things and bring them back to life.
Young Ned watches slack-jawed and furrow-browed as Digby disappears over the horizon. He stares at his finger, not sure exactly what just happened. Close on, a fly. It lands on a cupboard door and darts to and fro until smack, a fly swatter ends its life in one abrupt movement. We are interior Ned's childhood home, kitchen day flashback. The dead fly lands on the countertop. Young Ned's mother sets the fly swatter down and returns to lovingly preparing a pie, pressing dough into the pie platter.
It was a gift given to him, but not by anyone in particular. There was no box, no instructions, no manufacturer's warranty. It just was.
Young Ned peers over the edge of the counter, reaching in and touching the dead fly. There's a small electric pop. Then the fly flies up and out of the open window.
The terms of use weren't immediately clear, nor were they of immediate concern.
Camera follows the fly and young Ned's gaze to exterior neighborhood girls' home day flashback. A girl named Chuck, Pigtails et al., plays in the backyard.
Young Ned was in love.
She's making a small village out of mounds of dirt and cardboard boxes with Play-Doh people and toy cars as her father waters the lawn in the background.
Her name was Chuck. At this very moment, she was 8 years, 42 weeks, 3 hours, and 2 minutes old.
She squeezes a little people head out of the Play-Doh fun factory and places it on the body she's already constructed.
Young Ned did not think of her as being born or hatched or conceived in any way. Chuck came ready-made from the Play-Doh fun factory of life.
She makes the final few touches on her village, and it comes to life through the magic of imagination. Chuck's point of view, imagination realized, large as life. Toy cars drive through tiny streets, and toy people mill about on tiny sidewalks. Boom, 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 boom. The ground shakes. The toy people react to the strangeness. Then a giant reptilian leg stomps into a cardboard building, crushing it. Camera reveals a giant pig-tailed Godzilla stomping through the village, sparing no one as Play-Doh people scramble. And just when we think a lone Tom Cruise-esque Play-Doh person has escaped, squish, a giant rodent-esque winged dinosaur looking as much like Ned as the Godzilla looks like Chuck, wearing the same clothes, etc. Stomps him good. Smash back to reality. Chuck and Ned are stomping through the remains of her small village, having an absolute ball and getting very dirty on Ned. His mother is sweeping the dirt off of him with a broom. Interior Ned's childhood home. Kitchen day flashback. Fresh broomed young Ned stares out the window as filthy Chuck is getting hosed off in the backyard by her father.
He was under Chuck's spell until a blood vessel in his mother's brain burst, killing her instantly.
In the background, we see Ned's mother cutting fruit in one moment, then abruptly dropping out of frame. Interior Ned's kitchen home, childhood home kitchen day flashback. Young Ned turns away from the window to find his mother dead on the linoleum floor next to the stove. Extreme close-up. Mother's open and staring eye. Young Ned reaches into the frame and touches his mother's cheek, just below the eye. A bolt of static electricity. Her constricted pupil dilates and Ned's mother blinks. Ding! The timer goes off on Ned. He slowly backs away as his mother stares at him. A clock appears on the corner of our screen and begins counting down from 1 minute. 59 seconds, 58, 57.
Young Ned's random gift that came with a caveat or two.
Oh, did the timer go off?
Young Ned nods as his mother gets to her feet, brushes off her apron, and pulls on a pair of oven mitts.
I must have slipped. Clumsy.
Ned sits at the kitchen table, unable to look away as his mother pulls a pie out of the oven. 37 seconds, 36. Ned's mother places the pie in the kitchen window to cool. On Chuck in her yard. She kicks over the last standing building and runs inside as her father continues to water the lawn in the background. The countdown continues. 23, 22, 21 on Ned and his mother. Ned watches as his mother readies the second pie to go into the oven. 11, 10, 9, 8.
Was a gift that not only gave, it took.
Ned's mother twists the timer around, puts a new pie in the oven, and as she closes the oven door, the clock hand has traveled almost full circle. 4, 3, 2.
Young Ned discovered he could only bring the dead back to life for 1 minute without consequence. Any longer, and someone else had to die.
Include the kitchen window through which we can see Chuck's father drop dead. As young Ned and his mother don't immediately see this because their backs are to the window. Ned's mother cuts a piece of pie, puts it on the plate, and sets it down in front of young Ned. He takes a bite. Heaven.
It was the most delicious pie ever baked because it was the pie that was not meant to be.
His mother's gasp draws his attention to the window where they can see Chuck's father dead in the yard. Interior Ned's childhood home. Ned's bedroom later that night. Ned stares out the window at an ambulance slowly pulling away from Chuck's house without its lights on. Horrified.
Young Ned realized somehow in the grand universal scheme of things, he had traded his mother's life for Chuck's father.
Come on, Big Daddy, into bed.
And he was horrified.
Ned's mother pulls up the blanket so Ned can slide into bed. She draws the blanket up to his chest. Note, never touching him directly.
But there was one more thing about touching dead things that young Ned didn't know, and he learned it in the most unfortunate way.
She moves to kiss Ned on his forehead. Extreme, extreme, extreme close on Ned's mother's lips. As they are about to make contact with his father, we see a static pop of electricity go wide. Ned's mother drops dead right then and there.
First touch, life. Second touch, dead again forever.
Ned kneels next to his dead mother, poking her cheek, waiting for her to open her eyes again. She doesn't. Exterior, Ned's home, Chuck's home, day flashback. Young Ned sits on the porch, dressed all in black. He watches as Chuck's 30-something gray garden-esque aunts, Vivian and Lily, drag large steamer trunks into Chuck's house.
Chuck was orphaned when her father died and fostered by her aunts, Vivian and Lily, a renowned synchronized swimming duo. They shared matching personality disorders and a love for fine cheese.
Interior Ned's childhood home, Ned's bedroom flashback. Young Ned watches as his father fills the steamer trunk with all the belongings from his room, his Rodin costume.
For all intents, young Ned was orphaned too. After a brief mourning period, his father panicked at raising a child alone. In the wake of that panic, Ned was hustled off to boarding school.
Exterior Jewish Christian graveyard, later day flashback. The Jewish and Christian graveyards are two halves of the same cemetery. The synagogue and church on either end of the hillside graveyard. Two funerals are taking place, one on each side of the graveyard.
At their respective parents' funerals,
Exterior graveyard sunset flashback. The peak of the cemetery hill. Young Ned and the neighbor girl enter frame, and from their respective sides, silhouetted by the sun, she takes his hand and kisses him on the lips.
dizzy with grief, curiosity, and hormones, young Ned and a girl named Chuck had their first kiss. First and only kiss.
Moments later, young Ned watches the neighborhood girl head back down the hill. After a moment, young Ned's dog Digby returns and bounds right up to Ned. He reaches out to pet Digby and the dog pulls away. Despite this, Digby wags his tail and smiles, keeping a safe distance. As young Ned leads Digby down to the other side of the cemetery, camera begins to pull back.
The effect of his mother's death on Ned's psyche was twofold. He avoided social attachments, fearing what he'd do if someone else he loved died. Secondly, he became obsessed with pies.
The setting sun shining brightly, and round morphs into a golden brown pie on the cloud print tablecloth. We are...
It's 19 years, 34 weeks, 1 day, and 59 minutes later.
Interior pie hole kitchen day present. We are on a cooling window, the shelves lined with the cloud printed tablecloth. On a pillow on the floor is Digby.
Young Ned has become the pie maker, owner and pastry chef of the pie hole.
Camera finds a pair of hands rolling and kneading dough.
The expression pie in the sky entered popular culture in 1911, referring to a dessert so sweet it can only be found in heaven. But
Exterior pie hole day. A charming Parisian in tone, American in style, Googie-esque paste bakery. In front of the business is rounded and given the facade of a giant pie wedged into the ground floors of an adjacent apartment building, complete with the pie crust roof. The sign reads the pie hole.
if you crave something before you die, I recommend Where the Pie Maker Makes His Pies.
Interior pie hole kitchen day present. Camera pushes in on the back of the pie maker as he works, lining the pie pan with dough, not yet showing his face.
The peaches never brown, berries ripe as the instant they were plucked. If they weren't so delicious and eaten so quickly, folks might notice the pie stayed fresh an unusually long time.
Dead, dying, or bruised fruit is lovingly picked from a bowl and placed into the empty pie crust. Bruises fade and dead fruit spontaneously engorges with juice, ripe and tasty.
That's because the pie maker personally touches the contents of every one.
A piece of now fresh fruit spills out of the pie crust.
The dead fruit in his hands becomes ripe with everlasting flavor, as long as he only touches it once.
The pie maker's hands snatch it before it hits the floor, and the fruit spontaneously shrivels and darkens.
For this reason, the pie maker is a vegetarian.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember that part. Camera finally reveals Ned's face. Simultaneously handsome and awkward, about 30 years of age. Ned's lips are whistling, but we don't hear a sound.
He bakes alone, whistling quietly to himself, rarely pursing his lips tight enough to produce a sound.
Digby cocks his head, listening to what no one else can hear. Interior pie hole dining area day. Rich and textured, like the inside of a pie, tufted booths and rounded counter bar with spinning stools that curves parallel to the pie facade exterior. Right out of the 40s, the place is dappled with customers and a single waitress. Camera finds Olive, a 20-something waitress waiting on regular customer Emerson, a late 30s, early 40s African-American man in a sear-sucking suit. I don't know what that means.
Every day I come in, I pick a pie and concentrate all my love on that pie. If I love it, then someone else will love it. And you know what? By the end of the day, I've sold more of those pies than any other pie in the bakery.
Yeah. What pie do you love today?
Camera pushes in.
Rhubarb.
I'll stick with 3 plum. A la mode.
Emerson Cod, soon to be enjoying a slice of 3 plum a la mode, was the sole keeper of the pie maker's secret.
Exterior city rooftop flashback. Emerson chases a running man across the rooftop.
And how he came to be the sole keeper of that pie maker's secret.
A running man jumps to make it to the next building and misses, plunges 10 stories to his death. Emerson looks over the ledge to see the running man hit a trash bin with a bone-crunching wham that most definitely killed the man. But he bounces into a slightly younger Ned who happened to be emptying the trash at the time. Camera jumps to an extreme close-up of the impact, and we see the pop of static electricity. Camera pops wide as the dead running man opens his eyes and takes off again. Slightly younger Ned gives chase. Emerson watches as slightly younger Ned tackles the running man and he goes limp.
After the runaway corpse, Emerson Cod, a private investigator, proposed a partnership with the pie maker.
Camera pushes in on Emerson, staring, slack-jawed.
Murders are much easier to solve when you can ask the victim who killed them.
Resume pie hole day. Ned watches Emerson through the porthole window in the kitchen door. Emerson looks up from his pie. Their eyes connect.
Since the bakery was on the verge of financial ruin, the pie maker agreed so he could keep his pie hole open.
Interior pie hole night. It's after hours and the bakery's closed. Blinds are drawn over the windows and the lights are dim. As camera finds Ned and Emerson sitting at the booth, speaking in hushed tones. Ned, forever the handsome, articulate recluse, fidgets a bit, uncomfortable in his own skin. Digby sits nearby listening to them, mid-conversation.
I asked you not to use the word zombie. It's disrespectful, stumbling around, squawking for brains. That's not how they do. And undead? Nobody wants to be on anything. Why begin a statement with a negative? It's like saying, I don't disagree. Just say you agree.
Are you comfortable with living dead?
Ned shakes his head for a long beat.
You're either living or you're dead. When you're living, you're alive. When you're dead, that's what you are. And when you're dead and then you're not, you're alive again. Can't we say alive again? Doesn't that sound nice?
Oh, sounds like you're a narcoleptic.
I suffer from sudden and uncontrollable attacks of sleep.
What's the other one?
Necrophiliac?
Yeah, words that sounded like it mixed up in my head. Used to think that masturbation meant chewing your food. Now, are you interested in this opportunity or not? The dog is involved.
What kind of dog?
Gonna be a dead dog. A dead dog named Cantaloupe. Putting her down. Allegedly killed her owner.
When you say allegedly,
Cantaloupe was framed. Someone put part of a victim in her mouth.
Huh.
Docile as a kitten, says the family.
Emerson holds up a picture of the dog, a chow.
despite it being a chow, the breed most likely to turn on its owner.
That's racial profiling. Looky here. The dog's innocent. It's murder. And if it's murder, then there's a reward.
An oil painting, Leonard Gaswint and his dog Cantaloupe.
The facts are these. One Leonard Gaswint, 39 years old, 42 weeks, 5 days, 3 hours, and 26 minutes old, was found mauled to death in a parking garage.
Interior parking garage night flashback. A chow named Cantaloupe cleans himself next to a parked car, which partially obscures Leonard Gaswint's corpse.
His dog Cantaloupe was the sole witness and the only suspect in the murder.
A reward sign. There's a business photo of Leonard Gaswint with text that reads, reward $20,000.
Convinced of her innocence, the Gaswint family offered a significant reward to find the real killer.
One day, Cantaloupe sits alone in her cell, awaiting execution. Interior, county coroner's office day. Ned and Emerson stand outside the morgue with the coroner, who is filling out a series of forms on a clipboard. 2 county sheriffs stand nearby looking official.
Are you the dog expert?
Uh-huh.
Already had a dog expert.
I'm the other one.
Interior Country Corner's office, morgue day. Emerson and Ned approach the sheet-covered body on a slab. Ned peeks under the sheet and Emerson takes a step back.
How's he look?
It looks fine, but my threshold is pretty high, so you have to take what I say with a grain of salt.
Emerson takes a peek under the sheet himself.
It's not a grain of salt. It's one of those blocks they give cows to lick. The man's torn up.
He can't help the way he is.
It doesn't make it any less traumatic.
For who?
Me, and I'm sure him, but mainly me. I'm fine when they don't move. It's when they move that I have a problem.
Would it help if I turned off the light?
Yes.
Ned turns off a metal lamp next to the drawer, metal floor lamp next to the drawer, casting a shadow over the body and obscuring it. Emerson pulls back the sheet and reacts to the off-camera corpse, mortified.
I'm gonna wait outside.
Ned watches as Emerson quickly disappears out the door. As Ned's about to touch the dead Leonard Gas hand, camera jumps to an extreme close-up, and we see the familiar pop of electricity. Ned sets the alarm on his watch. A clock appears in the corner of the screen and begins counting down from 1 minute, 59 seconds, 58, 57. Leonard Gaswin sits up into the light, revealing he's been mauled. He couldn't be nicer.
Hello. Hi. Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Gaswin, or Leonard. Do you prefer Leo? Leo, your current condition.
Ned indicates a missing part of Gaswin's face. The clock continues to count down. 43, 42, 41.
Do I have something right here? No, there's nothing right there. Damn dog. Cantaloupe? No. Cantaloupe's docile as a kitten. It was that Rottweiler. My secretary sicked her dog on me. She's been pretty upset since last year's Christmas party. You know, it's a funny story.
Before Gaswin can start, Ned touches him and life slips from his body instantly. He stops his watch at 27 seconds. Interior Country Corner's office, day. The coroner and the two sheriff deputies stand outside as before, alone with Emerson. Ned steps out of the morgue.
Was it the chow?
The secretary with a Rottweiler.
Interior pound, day, slow motion. Cantaloupe bounds out of her kennel and down the aisle. Her fellow kenneled dogs barking MOS in support. Exterior, Secretary's brownstone. Secretary and the Rottweiler are escorted out of her apartment building, surrounded by media and police. Camera pulls back to reveal the images on TV. We are interior Olive's apartment, night. Camera continues pulling back to reveal Olive sitting in an overstuffed lounge chair. Digby squeezed in next to her, his head on her lap.
An anonymous tip led to solving the murder of a Michigan entrepreneur believed to have been fatally mauled by a family pet. The truth, however.
Knock, knock. Someone is at the door. Interior hall outside Olive's apartment, night. Olive opens the door to find Ned standing in her stoop. Digby pokes her head around from around the lounge chair. The newscaster continues to prattle on in the background.
How was your convention?
She draws close to him, flirtatious and almost slightly desperate for him to seduce her. He doesn't engage.
Conventional. How was Digby?
Neurotic. He's a very needy dog. Do you pet him? Maybe if you pet him once in a while, he wouldn't be so neurotic.
Interior Olive's apartment, night continuous. Ned steps inside and around Olive.
I pet him. I'm allergic, so I can't actually touch him, but I pet him.
With a stick? How do you pet him?
A stick is involved, but it's more like a handle to a petting device.
The dog needs to be touched. We all need to be touched.
You touch him, other people touch him.
He's your dog. Do you touch anything?
Of course, I touch lots of things.
With affection?
She reaches out and touches his shoulder, holding her hand there in an uncomfortable beat. Ned innocently averts his eyes.
When was the last time someone touched you with affection?
I get touched.
She holds his gaze for another uncomfortable moment. He clears his throat. She finally pulls back her hand.
Can I get Digby's leash? You don't mind that I don't touch you, do you?
Digby smiles and wags his tail, happy to see Ned.
And then came the event that changed everything.
Ned's attention is drawn away from Digby and to the television news broadcaster. A newscaster reports.
In other news, the body of a young woman allegedly murdered aboard a cruise ship was recovered from the sea. Her identity is being held pending notification of.
Ned watches on the television as an image of the limp, lifeless woman is hauled out of the water by a system of pulleys on the deck of a cruise ship.
The pie maker listened intently to the news, unaware that he stopped breathing. He was haunted by the nameless woman who met her end on the high seas.
Olive approaches with Digby's leash in hand.
Here's your leash.
But he didn't know why.
Off, Ned, totally wrapped, ignoring Olive. Interior pie hole, kitchen day. Ned has one eye on the pies he's making and the other on the small television set in the corner of his kitchen.
Her name still withheld. Very little is known of the victim, who was reportedly traveling alone when
Ned gives Digby a scratch with a petting device.
murdered aboard a passenger ship returning from a tropical cruise.
Ned looks up from the television to see Emerson through the porthole window in the kitchen door. He's seated at a booth in the restaurant. Their eyes connect. Interior pie hole, dining area at night. It's after hours and the bakery's closed. Blinds are drawn over the windows and the lights are dim.
Been watching the news?
Doesn't seem like much is going on in the world besides a dead girl on a boat.
A lot's going on with that dead girl.
That's so.
Mm-hmm. $100,000 of that so. Interested in a conversation?
I could be persuaded.
You better be persuaded quick, because that dead girl's about to go into the ground.
I just pulled her out of the water.
Jewish. Christians leave them laying around. Jews got to get them buried.
Where are we going?
Coeur de Cours. Ever been there?
I grew up there. Sort of. So this dead Jewish girl from Coeur de Cours, she have a name?
Charlotte. Charlotte Charles.
How? He might as well have punched Ned in the stomach. A series of quick shots from Ned's POV. Young Chuck stomping through the dirt city in her yard. Young Chuck and young Ned at Halloween. She's Godzilla, he's Rodan, and they hold their candy bags out for goodies. Young Chuck and young Ned kissing in the graveyard. Resume pie hole, Emerson and Ned as before.
Chuck?
End of Act 1. Act 2. Interior train car day. Ned and Emerson sit opposite each other next to a window.
You know this girl?
I know of her.
Know of her in the biblical sense?
Haven't thought of her since I was 10.
Think of her a lot when you were 10?
Don't remember anything when I was 10.
The pie maker remembers everything.
Exterior ocean underwater flashback. Cameras angled up at the undulating surface of the water. Swoosh! A body breaks the surface in a cloud of bubbles.
The facts were these. Charlotte Charles, 28 years, 24 weeks, 3 days, 11 hours, and 51 minutes old, was found floating in the ocean moments after her body was discarded there.
The
The
silhouette.
Sorry.
It's okay. The silhouette of dead Charlotte Charles floats in the surf.
Discarded by whom seemed to be the question only Charlotte Charles could answer.
Close on coffin, a simple pine casket. The lid is set in place over Charlotte's beautiful, lifeless body. We don't see her face.
Jewish law prescribes burial in a plain white shroud to demonstrate equality for all. No bling. For this reason,
Exterior funeral home day. The funeral director, a chain-smoking obese man, stands outside the home as mourners file inside.
the non-denominational funeral director preferred non-Jewish services.
Inside lavish coffins, 3 quick pops. The funeral director opens the coffin lid and pulls the necklace off a dead woman's neck. Pulls a watch off a dead man's wrist. Pulls the sizable ring off a dead woman's finger. Interior funeral home day. The funeral director continues to watch mourners file in. Camera finds Ned and Emerson approaching in the throng of mourners. Emerson begrudgingly slips a funeral director some cash. He quickly pockets it and opens the door. Interior funeral home viewing room day. The simple pine casket in the middle of the room, surrounded by much fancier coffins. The afternoon sunshine through a window. A light on the pine casket. Emerson and Ned enter.
I wanna, can I do this one alone? On account of, the whole historical context.
Got something personal you want to say?
No? Okay. Perhaps. I have nothing to gain but a small amount of closure.
But you got so open it needs closing.
Just want to say I'm sorry for something. One of those stupid things kids do that they don't know they're doing.
You ask who killed her first.
Okay,
You only get 1 minute,
I know.
60 seconds.
I know.
Emerson walks out, eyeing Ned, who closes the door behind him. Alone in the room, Ned braces his back on the door and takes a deep breath. Gulp. He slowly approaches the casket. Ned runs his hand over the pine frame and lifts the lid, bathing the body of Charlotte Charles, aka Chuck, in sunlight.
Only Prince Charming could know how the pie maker felt upon looking at her.
Even in death, she's beautiful. A woman, yet very much the little girl he once knew.
Great thought was taken as to where to touch her. The hand, too impersonal. Lips, too forward. The cheek.
Ned's finger closes in on Chuck's alabaster cheek, and camera jumps to an extreme close-up of his slow caress. A crackle of electricity between finger and cheek. The clock appears in the corner of the screen and begins counting down from 1 minute, 59. Chuck opens her beautiful eyes and blinks. Ned can only stare back at her. The moment is as electric as his touch. He smiles at her, expecting a warm smile in return, but instead, wham, she grabs him by the jacket, slams his head between the coffin and its lid. Wham, wham, wham.
Ow!
Chuck scrambles out of her coffin and Ned stumbles back in a daze. She grabs a chair and raises it to hit him again.
Chuck, wait.
Who are you?
Do you remember the little boy who lived next door to you when your dad died?
Yeah.
We used to destroy small villages together.
Chuck stares at him a moment, confused, then, Ned? Hey, how's it going? She finally puts a chair down. 46, 45, 44.
Good. You look great. Do you know what's happening right now?
Strangest dream. I was being strangled to death with a plastic sack.
It wasn't a dream. You were strangled to death with a plastic sack. It's probably an odd thing to hear, but I wasn't quite sure how to sugarcoat it.
It takes a moment. She glances at her burial shroud, her coffin, and finally the viewing room filled with caskets. Oh, and I'm neat. How?
You only have a minute. Less. About 38 seconds.
Huh? Well, what can I do in 38 seconds?
You can tell me who killed you, so, justice can be served.
That's so sweet. I just want to put you in my pocket. But I don't know who killed me. I went to go get ice. I was filling my bucket and I dropped my room key in the ice maker. And just as I was thinking that was dumb, interior cruise ship corridor, memory flash, very quick action. Chuck stands at the ice machine, perplexed, with a bucket of ice under her arm. Flip. A bag is thrown violently over her head. She sucks air and it shrink wraps to her face. The ice tumbles to the deck. In the foreground, as Chuck is murdered in the background. Resume funeral home viewing room day. Then you touched my cheek. Beep, beep, beep. Ned's watch alarm goes off. 15 seconds left. Is my time up?
I'm sorry.
And Chuck was just starting to get used to being alive again. It's weird and sad. But all she can think to say is, thanks for calling me Chuck. Nobody's called me Chuck since you. Interior funeral home, outside viewing room day. Emerson raps on the door.
I heard you beeping.
Just a second.
Resume viewing room day. Chuck back in her coffin, Ned holding the lid. 11, 10. He stumbled on his words, trying to speak but overwhelmed.
For you.
Yeah?
I wanted to say that I'm
Staring at her, Ned can't bring himself to tell her he inadvertently killed her father. So instead, he says,
I used to, when I lived next door to you, I had I was in, you were my first kiss.
"You were my first kiss too." Or did you think I'd been around?
I didn't want to assume.
Want to be my last kiss? First and last? Or is that weird?
It's not weird. It's symmetrical.
4, 3, 5, 4. She looks at her. He looks at her and slowly moves in for the kiss. She closes her eyes. The lips are about to connect when interior funeral home bathroom day. The funeral director scoots into the stall, pulling down his pants, sitting on the toilet and striking up a cigarette. Resume viewing room day. Ned and Chuck, their lips hanging in the air, centimeters apart.
His lips went as far as they would go. He couldn't will them to go any further.
Chuck opens her eyes. 2, 1. Minutes up. Interior funeral home bathroom day. A beat, then thunk. We hear the funeral director's lifeless head hit the stall door. Then the smoking cigarette drops. Resume viewing room day. Ned slowly pulls away from Chuck, who lies there blinking. He let her live and someone else died. The weight of it all is clearly on Ned's face when he looks back to Chuck. At Chuck. If you don't want to kiss me, you don't. It was just I thought it might.
No, I want to. I do. What if you didn't have to be dead?
Well, that would be preferable. Rap, rap, rap. Emerson pounds on the door.
Nobody can know. I have to think about how to get you out of here. Can you lay really still until I get back?
Sure. Before she can finish, he's closing the coffin lid. Interior funeral home, outside viewing room day. Ned emerges from his viewing room, quickly shutting the door behind him. He's nervous and a little sweaty.
She doesn't know. Didn't know.
Someone tossed her carcass off a boat and why are you sweating?
It's warm in there. What?
Your eyes twitching. When people aren't telling the truth, their eye twitches right there, like yours did just now.
It's nerves, aggravated by a stomach thing, like acid reflux, but in my eye. I think I'm going to stay for the service.
Is that so?
Feeling nostalgic. I'll catch a later train. Remember how to get to the station? It's now that great.
Interior funeral home viewing room day. Ned runs in and startles an elderly Jewish man standing next to where Chuck's coffin was, but no longer is. The elderly Jewish man startles as well.
Where's the deceased?
He points to an open back door.
Gone to sleep with her fathers. What? You sort of mumbled. She's getting buried. Presently?
Off Ned's oh shoot of it all. Exterior funeral home day. The hearse is pulling away as Ned bursts out of the doors of the funeral home in panicked, hot pursuit. Cut to black. End of Act 2. Act 3. Exterior funeral home day. Ned runs across the cemetery, vaulting over headstones. He cuts into a road and falls into step behind the hearse. Okay. Interior hearse through rear window day. Ned chases the hearse until he disappears in a cloud of dust. Exterior funeral home day. Ned waves at the clouds of dust. He sees the hearse continuing on down the driveway until it turns into the street. A long line of cars pulls out behind it. Ned sees which direction the hearse is heading and cuts across the funeral home yard, jumping over fences and hedges. Interior coffin dark. The small amount of light coming through the joints often barely illuminates Chuck. She's beaming, awestruck.
Only Sleeping Beauty could know how Chuck felt at this moment. With a brush of his finger across her cheek, the world became a place of magic.
Chuck is suddenly jostled.
And then the pallbearers pull her out of the hearse.
Interior funeral home viewing room day. 8 pallbearers pick up the casket and carry it out the back door, following a rabbi walking ahead of them. The pallbearers are unevenly matched, tall on one side, short on the other. Consequently, there's some slippage. Interior coffin dark. Chuck continues to be jostled about. Exterior hillside graveyard synagogue day. The pallbearers stop, and we hear Chuck slide up and bump her head on the inside of the coffin. Ow! Two pallbearers react to the owl, glancing at one another over the top of the casket, each thinking it was the other. Exterior, dirt road day. Ned runs as fast as he can, spying the cemetery up ahead. He quickens his pace, running past the last of the mourners. Interior, coffin, dark. Chuck lies there, waiting patiently.
Lying in the dark, Chuck considered how she came to be lying in the dark.
Exterior, swimming pool, day. Flashback. Camera pushes in on on younger Vivian and younger Lily. Their backs to us as they sit up on the side of the pool facing very, very sparse populated audience stands. Mermaid fins cover their legs. A sign reads, "The Darling Mermaid Darlings."
She considered the life that was with Aunt Lily and Vivian.
Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, day flashback. The yard is overrun with growth and the paint is peeling.
No longer nursing at the teat of synchronized swimming stardom, their personality disorders blossomed into incapacitating social phobias.
Interior, Chuck's aunt's house, day. Vivian, early 50s, is cleaning a bird cage. Lily, early 50s, dressed in a kimono with an eye patch, shields her eyes.
Which made it difficult for them to leave the house.
Camera pulls back to reveal they're surrounded by dozens and dozens of caged birds in a maze of stacks and stacks of newspapers and magazines. Chuck is moving through the house, opening curtains and windows and allowing fresh air to flow.
Which in turn, wait, did I read the wrong thing before? No, same. Which in turn made it difficult for Chuck to leave them.
Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, backyard, flashback. Excuse me, Chuck is wearing a beekeeper's outfit and pulling cells of bee comb out of the hive.
She never strayed far from home. She served the community by harvesting honey in her backyard.
On a homeless man. He is below a banner reading "Honey for the Homeless, Honey Drive." Chuck stands next to him, holding a jar of honey. Interior, Chuck's aunt's house, Chuck's bedroom, flashback. As Chuck sits in the bedroom sill reading a novel, the empty shelves in the room filled with books until the walls are literally covered.
And read about people she could never be, on adventures she would never have.
Interior, boutique, travel boutique, flashback. Chuck enters, glancing around at all the promise of adventure.
Life was good enough until one day it wasn't. Chuck wanted more.
Chuck's point of view as she approaches the smiling manager Deirdre next to a giant standee advertising a Tahitian cruise.
The irony that her want for life got her killed was not lost.
Exterior, hillside graveyard, synagogue, night, the present. Camera rockets through the headstones until finding a large mound of earth next to the hole in the ground next to a headstone that reads, "Charles, loving father." Their two graveyard workers seen earlier are about to take their first shovels full of dirt and sling them into Chuck's grave. Ned runs up to the graveyard worker, out of breath.
Hey, I think somebody's truck's on fire.
They look over the shoulder to see their work truck consumed in flames. The workers gasp and run to put out the fire. Ned makes sure they're not looking and jumps into the grave, pulling the lid off the coffin. Chuck sits up, smiles at the sight of her Prince Charming. He returns the gesture.
Sorry I'm late.
Interior, piehole night. Chuck and Ned sit at the booth. Chuck wrapped in his coat. He watches her devour a piece of pie and a large glass of milk. Ned is still filthy from digging up her grave. "I can't even hug you?" "Well, what if you need a hug? A hug can turn your day around."
I'm not a fan of the hug.
"Then you haven't been hugged properly. It's an emotional Heimlich. Someone puts their arm around you, gives a squeeze. All your fear and anxiety come shooting out your mouth in a big wet wad, and you can breathe again."
That's fine for someone else to do if I'm choking on something other than emotion. But you can't touch me.
So a kiss is out of the question. I'm teasing you.
Lost my train of thought.
This is the most delicious pie I've ever tasted. You use a lot of butter? He shakes his head, then touches a piece of fruit that's fallen out of the pie. It shrivels before our very eyes. Never had so much in common with a pie. Why didn't you touch me twice? I haven't seen you in 20 years.
I have a very good memory.
How long were you thinking about this?
Like thinking. It wasn't premeditated. I wasn't lying in wait. More like I was musing on the idea, not, dwelling. But I wasn't seriously considering until the exact moment I did it, or didn't do it.
Chuck stares at him a moment. This is all overwhelming. I always wondered if you'd come back. I guess you came back when I needed you most. Well, that would have been before I was killed, but this worked out.
You understand you can't go back, right? You can't see your hands.
They're shut-ins. It's not like they talk to anybody.
People aren't used to this sort of thing. Issues of morality and how come she's not dead anymore? It'd be a disaster.
I suppose dying is a good excuse as good excuse as any to start living my own life.
At least you're not the only Jew who's ever risen from the dead.
I am, if you asked a Jew. Interior Ned's apartment, living room night. Ned and Chuck stand in front of Digby, who wags his tail. It's clear from Ned's slouching that he's exhausted.
This is Digby.
Wasn't your old dog named Digby?
This is him.
Did you? And now he's...
Yes.
Well, you seem to do that a lot. Why do you do that a lot?
It's just the two of you. I don't mean to be a bad host, but I'm sort of exhausted from chasing your coffin.
Oh, of course. Ned crosses to the couch and lays down, dirt and all.
I'm going to sleep here. You take the bed. I insist. My eyes are rolling back into my head. I'm laying down now.
But Ned is already sound asleep. He snores quietly. I'd kiss you if you wouldn't kill me. Interior Ned's apartment bedroom, night. Chuck sits up in bed, watching the television news. A candid, while living picture of Chuck's smiling face looms over newscaster number 1's shoulder as he recites the news.
28-year-old lonely tourist Charlotte Charles was laid to rest earlier today.
In a strange bed, watching her own funeral on the evening news, Chuck was struck by the undignified nature of celebrity.
Every time she clicks the remote, the newscaster changes, but her haunting, while living picture stays the same.
A passenger heard a commotion just moments before the victim's bodies fell past his window. Maybe her death should be celebrated. If she hadn't died, she wouldn't have this chance to finally live. Boutique Travel Boutique has offered a $100,000 reward for the murder of customer Charlotte Charles.
Chuck reacts. No one said anything about a reward. Interior Ned's apartment, living room night. Ned sleeps on the couch. Camera slowly reveals Chuck sitting on the big wingback chair opposite him. Ned?
Hmm?
Would I be alive right now if I knew who killed me?
Of course, don't be silly. That's something on the news about the reward?
You said you wanted to know who killed me, so justice would be served. But I don't think justice was on the menu. Maybe as a side dish, but not an entree.
It most certainly was an entree. It was a special of the... Can we drop the metaphor? I wouldn't have known you died if it weren't for the reward.
When were you going to tell me?
In the morning, or when it came up, whichever didn't come first.
$100,000 makes a lot of pie.
50,000. I have a business partner.
It's a business?
Not in the traditional sense.
You touch murder victims. Ask who killed them. Touch them again. They go back to being dead and you collect the reward?
Yeah. That's it in a nutshell.
Are you after my reward? I'm not mad at you. I just want to know. I'll be mad at you if you lie to me, though. Is that why you're keeping me around?
I don't want your reward.
I'll be so mad if you're lying. You'll have me scratching the drapes.
I'm not lying. Please don't attack the window treatments.
Okay, go back to sleep. Chuck stands and returns to the bedroom. Ned lays his head back down on the couch, unable to shut his eyes. Interior Ned's apartment, bedroom, night. Chuck in bed faces the living room. She closes her eyes and reaches out and puts her palm to the wall. Camera rises to an overhead angle, finding Ned. On the other side, He reaches out and touches the wall. Aw. He and Chuck appear to be holding hands side by side. Interior Ned's apartment, bedroom, morning. Chuck opens her eyes to find a note taped to the lampshade. It reads, "Please do not leave this apartment. Interior apartment building, hall, morning." Chuck, in long coat, scarf, and glasses, turns and is surprised to see Olive standing outside her apartment. Surprised to see a woman coming out of Ned's. "I am a friend of Chuck's." Olive sizes her up for a moment, then out of curiosity.
Does he touch you?
Interior pie hole, morning. Emerson sits opposite Ned before the bakery is open.
How was the service?
You know, just paid my respects.
Weren't looking to get paid.
Hmm?
Might see a dead woman speaking to you in confidence as an opportunity to make a whole lot of money by your lonesome, regardless of prior arrangements.
There's no opportunity here.
With that, Chuck slides into the booth next to Emerson. "Hi, are you the business partner?"
Yes, ma'am.
"Charlotte Charles. Call me Chuck." Emerson can only stare. Ned buries his face in his hands. "I've been ruminating. And by ruminating, I mean pondering, not chewing cud. How about we solve my murder and collect the reward? Wouldn't that be poetic? It's certainly an anecdote."
She's supposed to be in the ground.
Thought you didn't want the reward.
"No, I wanted you not to want the reward. $100,000 is a lot of money. How about a three-way split? 30, 30, 40. Only fair I get more. I did die for it."
I'm not a detective. I make pies.
You can't just touch somebody's life and be done with it.
Yes, I can. That's how I roll.
Well, for someone who brings people back to life, you're awfully dead inside. Ned reacts to that, stung.
I can do 30, 30, 40.
She's supposed to be dead. You're supposed to be dead. I think this is pushing your luck.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Luck pushed me first. Off Chuck's determination. End of Act 3. Act 4. Exterior pie hole roof day. Emerson and Ned on the Googie-esque pie crust roof.
it's just so shockingly stupid. I have a hard time believing you did it.
You just agreed to be her partner.
I intend to profit from your stupidity. Are you in love with her? Because it's that level of stupid.
I admit to being confused. This is a very confusing time. Childhood issues, digging into the dirt. It's all coming up.
We all have childhood issues. I got a full subscription. Horror stories.
I kinda killed her dad when I was 10.
Oh, maybe not horror stories.
She doesn't know. I wanted to make it better or different from what it was because what it was her dead, and I didn't want that to be my fault too.
Who died instead, Captain Salaho?
Ned hands him the folded newspaper in his back pocket.
It's a random proximity thing.
Bitch, I was in proximity.
I wasn't thinking.
Emerson glances at the obituaries and a circled picture of the now deceased obese, chain-smoking funeral director.
I wonder where he went.
Thank God he was an a-hole. He took stuff off of dead people and sold it on eBay. It's all in the obituary.
Oh, well, that's nice. Fact he was an a-hole make you feel better about what you did.
Yes, immensely. I would have felt horrible if it was you, for example.
Emerson slaps Ned upside the head.
Ow, I'm not proud.
I like that you did it. Makes the worst thing I ever did seem insignificant.
Listen to you, all judgy judge.
You don't know this woman. You don't know anything about her, except she got herself killed.
As Ned takes that in.
The pie maker hadn't considered Chuck could be anything but the little girl next door that he fell in love with.
Camera drifts over the ledge to find the side of the pie hole bakery, moving through a window and into.
She only ever had charitable thoughts, and her heart was filled with kindness.
Interior pie hole day. Camera finds Chuck sitting in the booth alone.
She was who he wanted her to be, and no one else, until proven otherwise.
Ned and Emerson slide into the booth next to Chuck. "I'm not who you think I am." Emerson gives Ned a sidelong glance.
Who does he think you are?
The small town girl who never saw the world only to have her first time out be her last. Well, that is who I am, but I've been hoisted up upon my own petard. I don't know how to, whatever.
What's a petard?
In my case, a petard is the wanderlust that compromised my judgment. That Tahitian getaway was a devil's bargain, and the devil was Deirdre. Interior boutique travel boutique flashback. Deirdre Duffield holds the door open for Chuck as she enters. Once inside, Deirdre locks the door behind her.
Deirdre Duffield was the local manager of boutique travel boutique who lured Chuck with the promise of a high seas adventure at no cost.
Resume pie hole. All I had to do was pick up a package for Deirdre.
Are you a drug mule?
No, I'm a monkey mule. I met a man in a park and he gave me a briefcase. A briefcase flashback. A stainless steel Halliburton molded in an alligator print. The case opens to reveal a pair of plaster monkey statues. Resume pie hole.
You died for a pair of plaster monkeys?
Deirdre said their value is sentimental.
Those must be some emotional monkeys.
Yes, well, clearly he didn't want to part with them. You should have asked Deirdre about all this. I'm very curious what she has to say. Interior Deirdre? Okay, I don't know. Interior travel boutique day flashback. Camera pulls back from Deirdre, the boutique manager, to reveal she's speaking MOS in front of several reporters.
The facts were these. In a shrewd marketing ploy, the boutique travel boutique offered $100,000 reward in the death of the Charlotte Charles.
Exterior boutique travel boutique day present. Emerson, Ned, and Chuck pull up in front of the building. Only Ned and Emerson get out. Chuck slouches in the back.
Boutique travel boutique manager Deirdre Duffield hoped it would catch a killer before a killer caught her.
Interior boutique boutique day present. Someone likes tongue twisters. Ned and Emerson open the door. They step inside and the bell chimes. The store appears to be empty. They look around.
Hello? Anybody home?
Ned looks around as Emerson goes into interior boutique travel boutique back room. Emerson enters and stops short at strangled to death. Deirdre sitting at the break table, plastic bag over her head.
Although online sales increased by 23%, the reward fell short of achieving its desired goal.
There's really no way to run a... Oh.
Moments later, Chuck is now staring at Deirdre's dead body along with Ned and Emerson. Chuck carefully pulls a bag off her head. Well, I guess I can't be too mad at her. Is that how they found me? That's humiliating. She looks horrible.
Wonder how long she's been here.
Fetch the poor bitch and ask her.
I'm sort of embarrassed to do it in front of you.
Chuck turns around and Ned touches Deirdre. A familiar pop of electricity. Deirdre opens her eyes, blinks, and sits up. She glances around, more than a little confused. Wasn't she just murdered? She locks eyes with Chuck. A clock appears in the corner of the screen. 59, 58. Is there a Deirdre?
I think so. Let's check.
Vicky's
Deirdre was
gone.
supposed to be. Oh no! What happened to Vicky? All
Maybe
right,
she's Deirdre.
Kat or Heather, who wants to take it right now?
Heather
Oh.
hasn't spoken to her.
Heather, did you want to take Deirdre until Vicky gets back?
Yeah,
That's
let me
short.
just grab it. Let me find the line. Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, Deirdre.
Now, why'd I know you'd be the first person I see when I got to? Which one is this?
This isn't either, or maybe it's both. But here's the deal. You get to talk for like a minute, so we're going to catch up, and then you're not going to talk anymore.
Does everybody get to do this? Because, girl, we got to break it down.
Did you know I was going to get killed?
I thought it might be a possibility. And I'm real sorry about that. I probably should have said something. But to be honest, and really, why not at this point? If it was safe, I would have done it myself. This is fantastic. Being honest is fun.
Chuck is stunned. The clock continues. 34, 33, 32.
Ask who the dude was that killed you and her. And what's with the monkeys?
Who are those people?
That's Emerson. I don't know him really. And this is Ned. He was my first kiss.
Oh, no, he's adorable. Look at this.
Deirdre reaches over and pinches Ned's cheek, and thunk. Her head hits the table as she goes back to being dead instantly.
You couldn't have taken a step back.
I didn't know she was going to pinch my cheek. Who does that?
She does that a lot.
Whoever killed you killed your girl, Deidre, as evidenced by the plastic sack. But why would whoever killed you kill her if he'd already got his monkeys?
I dropped my key in the ice maker. He couldn't get in my room. Interior cruise ship corridor memory flash. The plastic sack killer, his face out of frame, stands outside the cabin door holding dead Chuck slumped over in his arms as he fumbles through her bathrobe for her room key.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
He tries the handle. It doesn't open.
This is a nightmare.
Resume boutique travel boutique break room.
He doesn't have the monkeys.
When you get murdered on a boat, where do they send your stuff?
Your next of kin.
If I got killed for the monkeys and Deidre got killed for the monkeys, then close on the briefcase. Camera very quickly pulls back to reveal we're in interior Chuck's childhood home, Chuck's bedroom night. The room has been stripped of all personal belongings. The briefcase sits on a bed, surrounded by stacks of books. In fact, the whole room is filled with stacks of newspaper. Camera continues to pull back into the hallway and down the stairs to the living room. Vivian is preparing a cheese platter while Lily watches an old television playing a newsreel of the Darling Mermaid Darlings in action, swimming in circles underwater.
It was Aunt Vivian and Aunt Lily who received custody of the monkeys, and they were about to be paid a visit by the man willing to kill for them.
Ding dong, the doorbell rings. Lily? Oh, Vicky's Lily. Or is Heather Lily?
Get that, will you, dear?
End of Act 4, Act 5. Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, night, moments earlier. From Ned's vintage Mercedes, there's Vicky. Vintage Mercedes screeches to a halt across the street. From Chuck's aunt's house, Ned, Emerson, and Chuck hop out.
You stay here.
I just want to look in the windows, like a ghost of Christmas past.
This isn't your Christmas anymore.
I want my pie, and I want to eat it too. I'll get crumbs in the bed I'll get crumbs in the bed. I don't mind.
You can't. You can have your pie, but you can't eat it. That's how it works.
Chuck was the pie maker's pie, and he could never have a bite.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
What if something happened? What if they got hoisted in my petard too? I would just die again.
I wish I could give you an emotional Heimlich so you could cough up that wad of fear and anxiety, but I can't.
Ned stares at her. His heart swells.
Give her a hug.
Emerson gives Chuck a hug.
That was for me.
Chuck watches them across the street to her aunt's house.
For 19 years, 33 weeks, 3 days, 7 hours, and 42 minutes, Aunt Vivian and Aunt Lily were all Chuck had. And before Chuck, all they had were each other.
Interior pool day flashback. Teen Vivian and Lily roll underwater, rolling over and over languidly in seashell bikini tops and mermaid fin bottoms.
They made a name for themselves as the Darling Mermaid Darlings.
Teen Vivian and Teen Lily dive, pivot, shoot out of the water, and flip perfectly synchronized. The crowd goes wild. Interior pool day flashback 15 years later. 30s, Vivian and Lily, I feel like we read this, rolled over and over less gracefully than before. I see. Their mermaid fins not as cute.
Still holding on to their fading glory as underwater artists, their lives were changed forever.
Interior bathroom flashback. Camera moves past an advertisement for the Darling Mermaid Darlings to find 40s Lily cleaning the litter box as the cat awaits patiently for her to be done. She accidentally flips the cat sand in her own face, recoils. Ooh.
When Lily cleaned the litter box and got dirty cat sand in her eye.
Interior pool flashback. Day flashback. The cat now sits in the edge of the pool watching 30s Vivian and 30s Lily with an eye patch. Lol underwater with no indication of grace colliding with each other. Oh.
Not only was the eye lost, but their careers too.
The crowd in the stands is only 7% of what it was. Exterior synagogue day flashback. Young Chuck and 30s Vivian and 40s Lily lead a rabbi and a train of pallbearers carrying her father's coffin through the graveyard on the hill above the synagogue.
They retreated behind a fence and made sure the world stayed on the other side.
Interior Chuck's aunt's house. Living room night present. Vivian is preparing a cheese platter while Lily watches an old television playing a newsreel of the Darling Mermaid Darlings in action, swimming in circles underwater. Ding dong, the doorbell rings.
Get that, would you, dear?
Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house night present. Ned and Emerson stand at the walk-in gate talking to a box.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Ned. I lived next door 20 years ago. I was a friend of Chuck's, or Charlotte's, rather.
Emerson shoots him a look. Buzz. The walk-in gate unlatches and Ned turns and gives Chuck in the car a thumbs up. She returns the thumbs up and then immediately scrambles out of the car, running to catch the gate before it closes. Interior, Chuck's childhood home night. Ned and Emerson sit opposite Vivian. They're surrounded by caged birds of all varieties and a maze of newspaper stacks. As Vivian sets a sad, cobbled together cheese and cracker plate in front of their guests, Lily prattles on.
Oh, Charlotte was a firecracker, always trying to get us out of the house, threatening to bake antidepressants into our food. Oh, got to the point I was scared to eat anything she cooked.
She was a good cook and a nice girl. Do you like girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Charlotte was a nice girl, with the exception of puberty, which was unfortunately the same time Lily was going through her change of life.
Oh, it's impolite to discuss a person's menopause in mixed company.
It nearly killed me.
Lily turns the subject back to Charlotte.
Horrible the way Charlotte died on a cruise. Oh, last days spent surrounded by middle-aged, overweight women who wear sweatshirts with things sewn to them. Oh, usually kittens made out of felt. And the food is perfectly atrocious, unless she enjoyed vomiting and diarrhea. I can't imagine she had a good last meal.
A good last meal goes a long way. Our penal system makes a point of it.
It's nice she had a little glimpse of the world before she died.
Oh, the world isn't that great.
At least she had the sense not to fly. Airplanes fall out of the sky every day. Cheese? I recommend the pure goat with blue ash. Has a grassy flavor.
Emerson
Oh.
takes a bite.
It does have a grassy flavor.
It's delicious with Charlotte's honey. You haven't lived until you've tasted her honey. The homeless love it.
We'll never taste her honey again.
Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house night. Chuck peers through the window at her aunts, examining the life she left behind. Regardless of their neuroses, Chuck's aunts were the only family she had, and she loves them.
For the life of her, Chuck couldn't remember why she was so desperate to leave her aunts behind.
Interior, Chuck's aunt's house night. Ned reacts as she catches Chuck peering through the window. He tries not to lose his focus and keep on task.
Not to change the subject, but has the cruise line returned her belongings, specifically a stainless steel briefcase?
Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house night. Chuck spots Ned spotting her and ducks out of sight. She sneaks another look at her aunts through the window, surrounded by their feathered friends in cages. She moves around the side of the house. eyes the stacks of beehives. Interior, Chuck's aunt's house, Chuck bedroom, night. Chuck opens the window, climbs inside, finds the bed with the suitcase and the briefcase and the springs on top. A lone parrot is on its perch in its cage in the corner. Chuck opens the briefcase to reveal the twin plaster monkeys.
The monkeys of indeterminate sentimental value took on a new sentimental value for Chuck. If she couldn't keep her aunts, she was going to keep them.
She hears footsteps coming up the stairs. She pulls the monkeys out of the briefcase. Upstairs landing, night. Lily walks up the stairs. Chuck's bedroom, night. Chuck snaps the briefcase shut and moves toward the window. She stops and takes a look around and slips outside. Lily enters, narrowly missing Chuck. Lily crosses to the window and pulls it shut, yanking the curtains closed. Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, ledge, night. Chuck stands on the ledge out of sight, the two plaster monkeys under her arm. Interior, Chuck's bedroom, night. Lily moves to the bed and picks up the briefcase. Behind her, silhouetted in the door, a man quietly enters the room. The parrot squawks.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Lily turns around and whoop, a bag is thrown violently over her head. She sucks air and it shrink wraps to her face. Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, ledge, night. Chuck is trying to see through the window, but can't around the winding maze of newspaper stacks. She shimmies along the ledge towards another window. Interior, Chuck's aunt's house, living room, night. Ned, Emerson, and Vivian in the living room.
Charlotte always wanted to get away, got away further than any of us thought.
Ned reaches over and holds Lily's hand.
A rare moment of sensitivity, the pie maker reached out and touched someone who didn't want to be touched.
But she stiffens at his touch. They sit there in awkward beat as if a social taboo has been broken. Ned is finally unable to take it anymore and gets up to excuse himself.
I'll go see if she needs any help bringing it down in case it's heavy.
Interior, Chuck's aunt's house, night. Landing, night. Ned climbs the stairs to the second landing. It's eerily quiet upstairs. He takes a few steps down the hall.
Want me to carry that for you?
He rounds the corner and sees a stainless steel briefcase in the middle of the hall when whoop, a bag is thrown violently over his head as well. He sucks air and it shrink wraps to his face. Ned struggles with the killer, who tightens his grip, pulling Ned off his feet. Whap! Chuck comes out of nowhere, slams the stainless steel briefcase upside the plastic sack killer's head. It rings in his ears and ours. He drops Ned with a plop. He scrambles back, pulling the sack off his face, gasping for air. The plastic sack killer spins around just as Chuck is taking another swing from the briefcase. Thwap! The plastic sack killer catches the briefcase before it hits his head, snapping it out of Chuck's hands. A tense beat, then...
Did I kill you?
I can hold my breath for a long time.
The plastic sack killer returns to see Lily, still alive, standing on the other end of the hall, cocking a shotgun.
18 years of underwater ballet.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Blam! The shotgun kick propels Lily backwards into the partially closed door behind her and into the next room. The impact of the shotgun blast knocks the plastic sack killer off his feet and through the window behind him. The stainless steel briefcase clambers to the floor. Living room. Emerson and Vivian both react to the commotion upstairs landing. Chuck and Ned stand with their gaping window between them, staring at each other. Holy crap, did that just happen? They look down the other end of the hall where Lily is staring directly, and not only Ned, but more importantly, Chuck, her dead niece, evidently returning from the grave.
The jig apparently to be up. Aunt Lily was looking directly at her niece who wasn't supposed to be alive.
Lily's point of view, hall. The corridor is partially obscured by her eye patch, and she doesn't see Chuck at all, only Ned.
And if she possessed two good eyes, she would have seen her.
On Chuck, she slinks around the corner and out the open window. Exterior, Chuck's aunt's house, ledge, night. Chuck emerges from the second story and climbs down the rose trellis. She turns back to see second story window. Ned's looking out the window at Chuck. The wail of approaching sirens can be heard in the distance. Ned's point of view yard. Chuck runs across the yard and stops at the dead plastic sack killer and kicks him.
A rush of warmth washed over the pie maker. He would later describe this feeling as delight. The girl he rescued from death had returned the favor.
Interior Chuck's aunt's house. Landing night. Ned turns from the window to find Lily holding the stainless steel briefcase as Emerson and Vivian come up the stairs. On briefcase, the lid pops open to reveal there are no monkeys, but instead it's filled with honeycomb. A single bee flies out.
And she gave a little sweetness to the ones she left behind.
Go wide. Ned, Emerson, Vivian, and Lily watch the lone bee fly out the window and into the night. Exterior Chuck's aunt's house, night. Police and news vans parked in the street outside the fence. Police officers, reporters, and cameramen storm through the gate and stop short at an unusual sight. The dead plastic sack killer. He's laying sprawled out, surrounded by broken glass. On Lily and Vivian, they step out onto the porch, surveying the reporters and a gathering crowd of looky-loos.
And
Very
saw that the darling mermaid darlings had another go at the teat of Starjo.
On Chuck, she's wearing a scarf and long coat, watching from the gathering crowd of looky-loos. Oh, hey, aren't those the world-renowned darling mermaid darlings? The reporters glance at Chuck, then back at Lily and Vivian, then swarm to the darling mermaid darlings in a cacophonous murmur of questions and gasps. Chuck smiles, pleased with herself. Cut to black. End of Act 5. Act 6. On television, newscaster 1, as seen earlier, reports breaking news.
Former darling mermaid darlings Vivian and Lily Charles defeated a deadly home invader who may have some connection to the murder of their niece, lonely tourist Charlotte Charles.
Camera pulls back to reveal we are interior Olive's house, night. Camera continues pulling back to reveal Olive again sitting in her overstuffed lounge chair, Digby squeezed in next to her. They're watching the evening news.
When asked about a darling mermaid darlings reunion, the sisters mentioned a benefit performance to support Honey for the Homeless was in the works.
Olive raises the television remote and we click to black, interior pie hole dining area night. Camera finds Ned and Chuck seated at the booth enjoying a pie. You know, this whole thing is sort of like reincarnation, but more immediate.
Sort of.
Do you believe in reincarnation? If I wouldn't have come back this way, would I have come back some other way?
I don't want to believe in reincarnation. The planet's falling apart. Right now, it's the children's problem. But if we reincarnate, it's our problem.
Never thought of it that way. Was this an act of kindness? Me? Here? Were you trying to do something good for no other reason than to help me?
I was being selfish. I'd love to tell myself I was being unselfish, but I know deep down in my primal sweet spot that I was being unselfish for selfish reasons.
Did you want a corpse bride?
No, I just thought the world would be a better place if you were still in it.
The most romantic thing she's ever heard. Anything else I should know?
The pie maker wanted to tell Chuck about the fateful afternoon when he brought his mother back and inadvertently killed her father. But instead, he said,
You know everything there is to know.
He lied.
She slides one of the monkeys across the table. I figure since it cost me my life, I should get to keep at least one. And since I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for you, you should have the other one.
It's like those heart pendants that BFFs wear, except with monkeys.
Thanks for bringing me back to life. The word life hangs there. Chuck stares at Ned for a moment. The attraction is palpable, but is it love or fascination? Not even Chuck could tell you. Ned's affection is clearer.
Thanks for returning the favor.
Chuck takes her monkey and presses its face against Ned's monkey. Ned smiles, returning the kiss with his monkey. He feels the weight of the plaster statue.
These are kind of heavy.
Then smash. Chuck smashes her monkey against Ned's. The plaster shatters, revealing solid gold monkeys underneath. Is that?
Uh-huh.
Neat. Exterior Chuck's aunt's house, day. The flowers in the yard are blooming and there's a fresh coat of paint being applied to the house. Lily and Vivian emerge and walk down the path to the gate, stepping out.
With a renewed interest in the world on the other side of their fence, Vivian and Lily retreated from their retreat.
Exterior water tank day. A large metal water tank with porthole windows in the side. Vivian and Lily, in robes and wearing bathing caps, climb the stairs to the platform above the water.
And took the plunge.
The very ample crowd applauds as Vivian and Lily dive. Camera pushes into the porthole window. Sploosh, sploosh. Vivian and Lily dive in and into each other. The porthole, the window, in a kitchen door. The door swings open to reveal we are interior kitchen days later. Camera pushes past Emerson to find Ned and Chuck standing on either side of the door in the walk-in freezer.
And the pie maker and Chuck took a plunge of their own.
Camera pushes between Ned and Chuck to reveal they're standing over a frozen corpse. A clean-cut white professional type in his late 40s wearing a suit. His name is Martin Miltenberger, and he's been stabbed several times.
The facts were these. One Martin Miltenberger, principal of the Bill School for Boys, was found stabbed to death in the school's walk-in freezer.
As Ned's about to touch dead Martin Miltenberger, camera jumps to an extreme close-up, and we see the familiar pop of electricity. Ned sets his alarm on his watch. A clock appears in the corner of the screen and begins counting down from 1 minute, 59 seconds, 58, 57. Martin Miltenberger sits up and takes in his stabbed status.
But before the principal Miltenberger could get into specifics of his demise, Chuck thought it would be nice to ask,
"Do you have any last words or thoughts or requests?" Ned reacts, glancing at Chuck and loving her for asking.
It was something the pie maker never thought or cared enough to ask until Chuck back into his life.
You better ask who killed him first.
As Martin Miltenberger prattles on, Ned stares at Chuck, his heart swelling. He reaches behind him and holds his hands behind his back.
As he stared at her, he reached around and held his hand behind his back, pretending he was holding hers.
Chuck winks at Ned and reaches behind her back.
And at that very moment, she was pretending to be holding his.
Off, Chuck and Ned, holding their hands behind their backs, fade out. Aww.
Oh, so cute.
Yes.
All right.
So good.
Want to talk more, but before that, we're going to have a little intermission.
I'm actually gonna go. I'm tired, and it's been good hanging out with you, but I'm gonna go. I'm tired. So
All right, Heather, thank you for being here. Sweet dreams. Have a good night.
yes,
Bye.
have a good night, all.
Take care.
If anybody wants to reach out to me for anything, just you know how.
Thanks. Take care, Heather.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, the rest will be back in 5 minutes at the 42-ish.
Cool.
Cool. All right, then we'll talk about it. All right, see you guys soon. So we lost you for a little bit, Vicky. Glad you were able to make it back. Ben, what's the next episode you guys have going on that's not out yet, that's going to come out soon?
We do an interview with a concept artist who worked on Spider-Man 2, specifically the tentacles for Doc Ock on Alfred Molina. So we spend a good chunk of that, and kind of shares a story about how he the reason why he walked off the project. So you get some of the get some of the dirt behind the scenes there. So we weren't expecting that to be part of the episode, but you wanted to share, and it's been about almost 20 years since that movie, so he can talk about the dirt on that without
Yeah.
a lot of ramifications.
All right, that was a good teaser. I'm not going to ask here because we have to go and we have to listen to hear why when it comes out.
Yeah.
When's that coming out? What date?
Monday will be the that episode.
And for anybody that watches this at a different time, Monday, the 18th of September, 2023.
And then tomorrow will be the release of the final part of an audio drama that I wrote for Nuverse Creative. They do audio dramas and stuff, so it's an adaptation of the Batman '89 comic book. This is a continuation off of the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton films. So I adapted it, and I narrate all three parts. So the third part's coming tomorrow. I'm very excited to hear the finale come together, because there's some stuff I added in there that's for the ending that I'm curious to see how it got brought to life. So it's going to be cool.
Exciting. Talking about how things are brought to life.
Mhm.
Segue man. It's now 7:43. We can talk about this script.
Sure.
I got to watch it shortly before we read it, so it was fresh in my mind. So I wrote down some notes. But before we get back to those, what did you guys think of the script, the story, like how the filming of it is like? And I got to work with Barry Sonnenfeld, who directed this on Men in Black 3. Super nice guy,
Nice.
super fun. But the filming of this, like if you watch it, it's very fun, very quirky, very cute. Which we get some of it. We were talking about with the titles of the and stuff. Were you guys able to pick that up or read that inside the screenplay, or do you feel like that's more came across in the directing?
The titles?
Not just the titles, but the whole like fun, lighthearted, quirky cuteness of it.
Oh, I mean, so much of that feels like that's in the writing. So much of that feels like that's Brian Fuller, and it's Sonnenfeld bringing it to life with the directing and the art direction. But it's that sort of a weirdly feel good comfort type of feeling, mixed with murder, mystery, and death and murder. That's kind of what I'm sure made this popular. I wasn't familiar with this at all until I knew the general concept, but I also watched the pilot for the first time ever today beforehand, just to see like who the different characters were and stuff, and what it was like, and I thought it was great. I'd like to watch more of it.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it when it came out. It's funny that you mentioned all the death and murder and different things, like because I was looking at Brian Fuller's IMDb right now, and the thing he wrote right before this was Dead Like Me, Life After Death. Right after this is Heroes. And there's other stuff before that, Dead Like Me, Wonder Falls, Carrie, a lot of Star Trek stuff.
I know him from Hannibal.
That's
It's a very different tone.
Very different. That's pretty awesome that he could be that diverse of a writer, like that he didn't get fully pigeonholed. Like, that's kind of cool. Impressive. Doesn't always happen. Vicky, had you seen this before?
I had not, no. And it was what I expected. I had did a little reading, yes. It's interesting. I think the writing is interesting, and I think it's the writing that actually brings the quirkiness to it. I mean, that's it. It was easy to do that way. That's how it was written. Yeah.
Very cool. And so have you just read it or did you also get to watch the first episode?
No, didn't get to
Yeah.
watch it. Yeah.
For others that are seeing this recently from when we create this and want to watch it, it's on Max right now included in your subscription. Otherwise, it's other places, but you got to pay for it. So it feels weird calling it Max and not HBO or
I know.
HBO Max.
Mhm.
And I'm not used to it.
I wasn't aware.
Before I get into like the little notes I wrote down, kind of trying to, bring Clint to this. Just get Kat and Angel, did you guys have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah.
Go for it, Angel.
Should I go? Okay. Okay, first of all, this is one of my favorites. I love this show. And I could be wrong, but I feel like this style happened before Wes Anderson started this style.
So this came out 2007 to 2009. I'll look up Wes Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was making something before that, but
It's so similar to his, like the very bright, saturated colors. Well, he doesn't always have that, but just that very stylized look that's just beautiful. I absolutely love. I love when films can look
Yeah.
beautiful. So
he
there's
did have
that,
some like
and
he had Darjeeling Limited at 2007.
okay.
Life Aquatic was 2004.
was it the
Royal
same
Tenenbaums 2001.
director, maybe.
So
I feel
what?
like there's got to be somebody who was the same on his and on this. Was there a similar director?
maybe, I mean, that's
Similar.
again the thing, like some people could have similar aesthetics, and
Mm,
again, you're bringing it up because so few people have the aesthetic of
very
these. Like you think
Yeah.
Wes Anderson, it's kind of like Tim Burton.
I
Like you
feel
see those
he-
two different styles and you're like, those stand out, and we believe we could tell these directors by those styles.
Mhm.
So the
But
fact
even
that
that-
this, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Even that saying Ned was 10 years old, 10 years, 33
Mhm.
days and 40, whatever, hours, all that. I feel like that's been in some of Wes Anderson's stuff. But anyways,
I'm glad you bring that up because that's one thing that I wanted to talk about on this was we don't see many scripts with narration. You know what I mean?
no,
This type of omniscient like narrator and stuff is more of a book type thing. Like
Mhm.
this was in Series of Unfortunate Events and stuff like that. So
right. Yeah.
what do you guys think about the
Oh, that's-
narrator in screenwriting, not that on itself and how it was done here?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it in this anyways. I think it's got to be. I don't know that I enjoy it in everything because I can't think of other ones, but I really enjoy it in this.
Well, a movie, Princess Bride.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. So maybe I just like
Yeah, I like a narrator. I really do. It I don't know. It's something about structuring the story, and
Mhm.
you've got this person leading you down the path. I like it. Yeah.
And it's always nice to be told a story, to have someone read a story or,
On that note, do you feel like it has to be certain stories, certain genres, certain styles are right for it?
I would think so, but I hadn't really thought it through yet. But yeah, I would imagine so. Because if you have a really like big action movie, you don't want it to be interrupted by, and now he takes his knife out and
Mhm.
it might be a little odd, but could.
Princess Bride, like they're actively in the movie reading a book. So you
Mhm.
could see that. But then in a series of unfortunate events, like it's from a book series, from books.
Hmm.
I don't think this Pushing Daisies is from any other origin. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I don't know if you guys do or not.
I don't think
And
so.
this one isn't directly a book, so this was doing it without that.
Mhm,
which
interesting.
I actually think it's perfect for this. Go ahead, Kat.
I do too.
I was gonna say, I think having the narration takes it a little bit out of your normal feel of a show. So you don't expect the characters to be acting exactly like they would be if you'd met them on the street in real life. Just like with the Princess Bride or Unfortunate Events, you can take it a little over the top, and
Mhm.
because the premise behind the show is insane. I mean, it's
Right.
just it's so different and so unusual that all the characters have to be somewhat unusual too. I mean, you have the detective or the private investigator who's out there trying to make a buck, and then you have a pie maker who's got this, ability to raise the dead. And even when the dead wake up, they're just like, they're not worried about there being dead. They're like, oh, I'm dead. Okay, fine, cool. Which is not how I think I would react if I gotten woken up, So everything is slightly askew, and I think the narration contributes to that because it tells you that this is fiction, and it constantly reminds you this is fiction. It's not supposed to be taken like real life.
Yeah, which is maybe why the deaths don't feel as sad as they would otherwise. Oh, sorry.
No. That's impressive that they take that subject that could be very morbid and sad, and they make it fun and lighthearted. It's like impressive to be able to do that. I don't mean to go back, but another thing that came to my mind from what we were talking about is we read Paddington, and that's another one that has a narrator, which understandably, and also has very beautiful, colorful, stylistic that match both these and Wes Anderson, but didn't have the same directors of each. If anyone watching this knows like the art director of any of those 3 movies and there is some crossover, please let us know.
Yeah, I'd love to.
The never-ending story.
Yes.
And there's another fantastical, amazing world that, very visual and cool.
It is. Yeah.
And I see a pattern with children's stories. So
Yeah.
not that this was that.
It seems like
That's the tone of it.
children's stories for adults, kind of like maybe with like for all of us childs at heart still that will still want that magic and relationship and stuff.
Special.
Kind of Alice
So
in Wonderland-ish.
Yeah. I do have one.
Bring it, say it.
Okay.
Criticism?
Yes.
Mhm.
He's bringing the fruit back to life. Who dies in its place?
Well, I wonder that too. Like, I mean, it would be another plant, another vegetable, I would believe. I think that's just my thought.
All the weeds in the garden are dead.
That would be cool.
Unless it's a thing where the fruit is restored when he serves the pie, and then when they eat the pie, that kills the fruit again.
Right.
Which then rebalances it.
But it's
assuming it
within
happens
that-
in a minute.
Yeah, it's within that 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, again, like when the dog died, I don't remember reading this in the script, but it was in the TV show.
It's in the show.
Shortly
Yeah.
after that, a bird fell. You know what I mean? So and then when the mom died, it was a death. Like it almost seems appropriate, which we would consider balance of like
But
living died.
Did the mom die because he brought the fly back to life? Because oh my gosh.
I don't
No,
think
it was just
it
said to
wasn't-
be like an aneurysm type of thing.
Yes, they specified that in the show. Yeah, it wasn't that. And I think it showed it was more than 1 minute. Maybe that wasn't as clear in the script here, but
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's after his play date with Chuck.
Oh, okay. So it would have just happened regardless. I always
There
thought
was-
that he was the cause, but then he would have looked at himself as the cause, and he didn't. With his
when I
mom.
was watching it today, I was wondering if like if she's gonna die right from that, because I had forgot, I haven't seen it for years.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't show what died in place of the fly that I noticed. Maybe another fly or something, but
Yeah.
or an
Yeah,
ant that
here's
was
the
walking on
Mhm.
the thing. Yeah. Cool. Other thoughts you guys have?
I mean, I'd be curious to watch the rest of the show after
Yeah.
this
It'd be
start to see the progression of like how this love story goes on, with the central conceit being that they can never physically touch each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like already in this episode, the actors, the director, writing did a good job of building that like love that they have, that desire they have for each other, that like that it feels like naive and childish and innocent, but so like genuine. It's like
Mhm.
it's, yeah.
No, totally.
So good job, all of them.
hmm
Stuff with directing. I forget what I was. Oh, I think just slight changes, of course, that happen between what's it called? Slight between the script and what they shot. Like the first one I noticed is like that they didn't see the dad die at first or whatever, but Chuck saw it in the TV show, and then after that the mom saw it. So there were slightly little differences there. There's a few other differences I noticed throughout it. If you guys have a thought, please jump in and say something. Otherwise, I'll just keep going down the notes.
In terms of the
Uh,
differences?
Anything. Yeah, but go ahead, bring in
Yeah,
differences.
I mean, I did notice certain lines in the script are said by different characters from what's in the actual episode.
Yeah, that's my very next one right there. Do you have one to come to mind?
The masturbation one.
That's the one I was going to mention. Yeah.
And then that's the most notable because, and I don't know how much of that is due to it's Kristen Chenoweth, so they wanted to give her a little bit more, but like it's one where in the current script it's Emerson who says it, who says the
Yeah.
whole line about confusing masturbation with mastication, and in the shot pilot, it's actually Olive who says that, who's kind of just written into the scene just to say that and then peace out. So again, I think I'm wondering how much of that is just because, you know, Kristen Chenoweth is Kristen Chenoweth. So they wanted to give her a little bit more. And then I think the end, the whole lines about, hey, like, I don't like not liking reincarnation, and that it becomes our problem if we come back to life, is given to Emerson in the final episode, which I think is more appropriate. It seems a little cynical for that to be Ned. And maybe that's what they thought too, when they decided to give that to Emerson instead.
Yeah, I think it's cool and interesting to always point out how things slightly change. And I think all of these changes were for the better on this one. So
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I noticed with that. Let's see.
If so, go ahead and bring it up later if anyone else knows. One thing that this script had, I'm sure most of us here maybe know what it means, but in case any of our viewers don't, it said MOS a couple times. Do you guys know or what that means or want to share?
Trying to see the context of that.
Mhm.
The MOS.
Yeah, I understand what it means. I don't know the exact translation of what MOS stands for, but I know what
I
it
see.
means.
Yeah, her fellow kennel dogs barking MOS in support. Interesting.
Basically without sound. They're seen there and doing this stuff, but you don't hear the
Oh,
sound of it.
so that's how you write that in.
There we go. That's what we have it. Yeah. Do you want to share your screen if you have it up already, or I can bring that up and share the screen so people can see? And it happens more than one time in here as well, if I remember correctly. Share.
You're gonna have to enable it for me. Or there you go.
Oh, sorry.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
we'll go
see
to
it
the next
on.
one.
Yeah.
The-
It's separated by periods. So
Oh, is
it's
it? Okay.
on the one I'm looking at is on page 40.
We should, and then in this meantime, we should, oh, that's not coming up either. Oh, there it is. All right. So yeah, dogs barking MOS in support. So yeah, you saw it slow motion, and even in the show, you see it going like this, and all the dogs barking.
Yeah.
And then here's another one to reveal, like, she's speaking MOS in front of several reporters. So you see them speaking and doing it, but you don't hear that what they're saying and stuff.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. So it means without sound. And mit out sound. MIT dash OUT sound. I don't know what mit out means, but yeah. So there we go.
You don't see it very often.
No, you don't. That's for sure. Cool. You guys have other thoughts on that? If not, there's also stuff that was with the acting and the blocking, like when Olive is trying to flirt with Ned in the show. It's a lot more obvious and apparent than in the screenwriting. Like in here, like if it was like the show, you'd see like she walks closer, she steps on the box to get closer to him and all this stuff, but that's happening during all of this inside the show. That's not here.
Yeah. So that might be coming down to Sonnenfeld as the director, or it might come to a later draft that we don't have.
Yeah. This one, I could maybe see it being implied. There's something else that when we were reading the script, I noticed I'm like, that, at least from my impression, I'm reading the script, I wouldn't have got that is in the thing. Like here, I think you could get that convey that have you ever been touched, or do you ever touch anybody? Like that was kind of here, but there's another one later that I feel was kind of different. Yeah. Other thoughts before I go to the next one? No. All right, you guys go ahead and like raise a hand or anything if there is. Inside the script, it said a lot clock on screen. So that's how like they thought they were going to have to read it. I don't know the conversations that happened in the room where they said, oh, you know what, we don't need it, or that's not as important as we thought it was. It's clear by just looking at the watch, because that's never done in the series that I saw. We see the watch, we see the clicking, but you don't really have the exact number of countdown in time or whatever.
That's true.
I
I
was
thought
trying
about
to
that.
count in my head too, when it said like 15 seconds left. I thought, well, okay, are we going to get the actual conversation out in the actual 15 seconds, or, you know, is it just like arbitrarily 15 seconds?
I always wonder that in movies and TV shows. There's lots of times it feels like that happens. You're like, you said it was 30 seconds, and then this whole big scene goes on. What's
You have 5 minutes. Cue the next hour of the movie.
So it's good we're mentioning this if any filmmakers are here, that when you do that, try and like make sure the time matches how much things are passing, like that it feels right, because as we just all mentioned right here, it takes us out of it. If it's not right, if it doesn't feel to match, we kind of like, it takes us out of it, which no filmmaker wants. So yeah, glad you said that, Kat. Thank you.
Well, I was wondering too, because at some point he mentioned there was a watch and it beeped. Because I was wondering before that, it's like, how does he know how much time he has left? Because I can't judge a minute. Just, you know, maybe if you do it often enough, you can get it down to a T. But, you know, sometimes a minute feels really long and sometimes it feels really short.
On that
I tell
note,
you, it felt like such a long minute when he was dealing with Chuck. I mean, the only time that a minute feels longer is if you're planking. I mean, I had to throw that in there.
yeah, watch the yoga show with Vicky. Planking made easy.
I can go 2 minutes.
Nice. That'd be nice. It's one of those things that is like much harder than it looks if you've never tried it. Like the wall sit where you're like sitting against the wall looks so easy, but it's not.
And having an actual clock on screen for the audience to look at, you know, you don't see that too often in shows. I mean, Sherlock had stuff on when we watched, you know, Sherlock shows. They had to, you know, what was going on in Sherlock's head was on the screen too.
Yeah, that's cool. In the show 24, they at least had that before they went to commercial breaks.
Wow.
It's supposed to be in real time in the show
True.
what's happening, all the different scenes at the times. The thing you mentioned, Kat, I had the same thought about like the beeping thing. My brain didn't question like, oh, when is he going to know? Because I figured they could look at the watch or so. But the beeping thing, I'm like, oh, that's good that he has a beeping thing up to let him know. So that made me think from us talking about right now, they should have included that the very, very first time he ever did it. Because then we would think if it ever got that close before or late after that, that we would hear it. So we know they're safe if we don't see it or hear it. But an option, a way of doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, there's also a factor too where he does that first one with the guy who got killed by the dog by himself, and then later on he asks Emerson, "Can I do this alone?" So it feels a little off because the first time he did it alone anyway. So like, why does he want to do this one alone? So again, it was a little bit of a you kind of have to fill in the blank that okay, all the other ones Emerson goes in with him, but it's a little weird that we actually never really got to see him watch him bring somebody back to life until at least in terms of watching that first episode, until he starts interacting with Chuck. Emerson starts interacting with Chuck.
Well, and Emerson doesn't like being in the room anyways when they move. He says so.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little more confusing.
Yeah. So I don't think we even needed the line of like, hey, can I do this by myself? Because it's like, well, it's what he was already doing. So we might not have needed that. I don't even remember if that was in the it probably was. Some version of that, I think, is in the episode that was shot. I'd have to go back.
I believe there is. I think I remember that part. Cool. one thing that's had a lot, is it called onomatopoeia or whatever? Like they had like written out the sounds, like rap, 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 so
Yeah.
thwap and stuff. So
Yeah, I saw that too.
it did have the part where the screenwriter told us, like when Ned came out of that room of talking with her, it said he's nervous. You know what I mean? Like, and some people say, don't say stuff like that, or do say stuff like that, but the screenwriter chose to. What are you guys' thoughts on that? And Vicky, I know you've acted in a lot of plays and different things. Would you like if what you're reading said, like, this character is nervous when leaving something or coming into something, or do you think you could gather that from the writing and stuff before or after, and how you feel about it?
It's yeah, actually it's good when things are detailed like that, I think. I mean, yeah, a good actor has good instincts and figures things out, but if it's meant to be specific, yeah, it should be written out.
Yeah, when I was reading through it, and we got to that part, it didn't really like throw me off and stuff, given what happened beforehand in the scene. So it didn't necessarily feel like I would have needed that to know to play it nervous, but also didn't like throw me off either. It didn't seem like too unnecessary. It like seemed just right.
Well, when I read Shakespeare, the most common direction would be aside, as in you're not talking to the audience. And granted, those have been put in afterwards by all the editors, because the original scripts, if they ever find them, probably don't have any stage directions written in there. But knowing when you're talking to another character and knowing when you're talking, off to the audience or whatever, or to yourself, makes a huge difference. And so, that's kind of, I like having that in there. I like having, if it's nervous or angry, or just an idea of what the writer was thinking. You don't have to necessarily do it that way, but it's nice to have an idea what they were thinking when they wrote it.
Yeah, and exactly what you said, Kat. I thought I wrote it down. I'll see if I did other ones, but there is a couple things. Oh, there's one where she comes into the restaurant that has Emerson and Ned there at the table, and she just says like, "Hey, I'm so and so," or this, that. And in the script, it says Ned buries his face in his hands. I don't recall that. Maybe that is how it was done in the episode. I don't recall that he did exactly that action. So I think what you're saying is right, Kat. Like, I mean, the writer's writing it for the reader at this time, and it's like the actor and the director can decide to change it up later. It's just like,
yeah, ultimately in the end, it's the director who decides how things are. Actors can try to be independent and they can get away with it. But yeah, it really does depend on what the director wants.
Different things, again, probably to save money. There was less of a chase in the show to chase the coffin down. So there's another thing that was, two other things that didn't see in the show, and that's when the ants like crashed underwater. I don't remember seeing that exact moment. They just showed like the audiences or some water or something. And also in the script, it talked about the cat when the litter went in her face. That was a quick scene just back in the sand, went up there with the narrator, and it worked. No cat. They didn't have to work with cats, so it made it much easier, I'm sure.
Yes. I also noticed a scene that took place on the roof of the pie hole.
Yeah,
which was not in the actual episode, which is probably for the best production wise, when they're just like, does this need to be at the roof? We already have this other room that's built up, so that makes sense.
And when it's obviously a CG shot that they always use of the outside roof, and they have to build that. This had a surprising amount of CG, especially for the time. Like, it was fun little sequence at the beginning, and some of it looks obviously bad, but some of it, like little clay people running from the dinosaurs and the thing, that was fun and well done, I thought.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, so that was one part I didn't quite remember.
And I wrote something about Chuck's thoughts of the reward, so maybe something was written about her thoughts. Oh, yeah, like when you first heard it, like it, I would have to. I'm gonna look that up. You guys find something else to talk
I know you also bumped on this Angel when you got to it because I didn't remember it in the pilot. Maybe it's established in the show, but the fact that Ned's a vegetarian,
Mhm.
which is in the script, but I don't know if that's in the show. I've only seen the pilot today, but I don't
I
know if
don't
that becomes a
remember.
thing.
Yeah, I don't remember that being in the show, but
Yeah.
if it was probably not a huge part of it.
Mm.
When I watched the show today, I don't remember them mentioning that either. And I also felt like there was a few more specific details about being Jewish or Judaism, like within the script, than was actually in the show. Like they did
Oh,
mention
okay.
that they did mention Jewish and Christian, but they didn't have her covered in a white thing. They didn't make the joke, I think, about Jesus and the Jews don't say anymore.
Yeah, I don't
And a
remember that
few
part
other
either.
things like that. So
Yeah, I think it was just the reason why they're trying to bury her so soon, and that was it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't get the purpose of that, but you actually just explained it.
Ah,
yeah. So yeah, that one they definitely said, but it's obviously either the person, which are all good, like was who wrote it was Jewish, or that they did their research and asked
Mhm.
people or whatever. So from what I talked about, I wanted to bring up here is like, so it says the new caster talking about the 100,000 reward. Chuck's reacts. No one said anything about a reward.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like in most screenwriting things, I would say you can't write that or say that. Like, but I think it helps her to know like what reaction to how to play it. What are your guys' thoughts?
No, I think so. Hmm.
Mhm.
And it is addressed later on when she speaks to Ned, but
Yep,
at that
immediately.
moment, if they're not sure, if the actor is not sure, what am I reacting to?
Yeah.
But
Cool.
Yeah, I think
Just
that the so-called rules sometimes of screenwriting of like you can't put this or that, like you kind of have to look at this from the perspective of whoever's reading this should be entertained, should want to keep wanting to read it. So if you kind of bend the rules every now and then to kind of make the experience more immersive, you're basically doing your job.
Yeah, as long as it's clear, as long as it's entertaining.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what some people say is like how people find their voice. It's kind of like how you handle the mistakes or the different things, or how you choose to uniquely do them.
Mhm.
But that's all of my notes. So you guys have to say more or do more. But yeah, so yeah, as mentioned, I love this show so much. I was sad that it ended.
Hmm.
yeah, I didn't realize how much of that quirkiness would be in the script, and it's not just, it wasn't just from the actors and the director, it was right there. So
Mhm.
that was pretty cool to me.
That's one of the many things I love about us doing this is seeing what is in the script, what is on the screen,
Mhm.
and again, debunking all these rules and principles and stuff if it's done right.
Mhm.
Of course, like
Yeah.
when we do this, like what a lot of people talk about, like usually the formatting is right. So usually
Mhm.
the formatting and stuff, that's the structure of the words on the page is usually pretty consistent, but some of the other principles and rules are a little off. And that's not always the case either, as we see from reading these. But
Would have loved to have seen where they could have taken it or would have had the strike not happened.
I saw an interview clip earlier today, one of those YouTube shorts of the actor. I know his name, I can't think of it right now. What's the Ned's name, the actor?
The
Lee
guy
Pace.
behind you.
Yes, Lee Pace. Saying he's like, yeah, we'd like to do, but he's much, much older now compared to then. But yeah, we'd like to do more with pushing daisies and reviving stuff. Yeah, wait. So
Wouldn't that be cool?
maybe, yeah, show like them old and still not have kissed, like physically touch or whatever, like, and what else has happened or some big
Or
thing.
evolved it to they've found new ways to
They're in
Hold up a-
VR
Hold
now.
up a book or something and they, what's that?
They're in like VR with AI.
Yeah.
But,
Oh,
no,
it could start
I'm
off that way. No, but couldn't it? It
Tricks
could
you into
start off
thinking that
that
they
It
found a
totally could.
way. That could be the opening right there.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't-
exactly.
okay, whoever's not okay with spoilers, plug your ears for 15 seconds.
Ooh,
right.
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it. So
Well-
I'll be back in a second.
Okay. I don't remember this. I didn't remember this happening, but I saw it from all the clips. They hold up like saran wrap and they kiss. So
Oh,
with that, they could probably do a whole physical wrap or something and interact that way. But yeah, all right. That's all I'm gonna. You guys want to say anything before we
All right.
give Ben Wan it's okay to come back? Okay.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
So I don't even know if that was a spoiler or not, but
Okay.
yeah, put that up
Yeah.
there. So we're done with it. But,
Cool.
all right.
I
Yeah.
think I saw that in the trailer. I haven't seen the show, so I did see that in the trailer, so
Oh, all right.
can't be too much of a spoiler.
Yeah, that's the thing. yeah.
Although, trailers.
I like to be better safe than sorry. Like for myself, I don't like any of that. I want to just experience it as it's meant to
Mhm.
be told and come to me from the
Mhm.
creators. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, thank you for introducing this to me because again, like,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
this was not what we originally thought we were going to do. And then when this was, I'm like, let me watch this just to see, because I've always had like, I've known Brian Fuller from Hannibal. I knew it was going to be a very different show. And I was like, you know what? I've heard so much great things about this one. So this gives me an opportunity to like check it out. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been described as charming beforehand, and I could totally see why it's called that from just from watching it and the just sort of the sweetness that comes with it and the quirkiness that feels unique. And that's why, you know, Brian Fuller's voice has become something that's so successful on TV.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for being game to stick with it and everyone
Yeah.
to adapt at the last moment. I'll mention it for
Yeah.
those that don't know. We were going to read an episode of Doctor Who, and other people were more familiar with the episode specifically than we were. So I just looked up like some of the best Doctor Who episodes, and I've seen all of them, but I didn't remember the name of the episode.
Mhm.
And when we went to cast it, we saw it's basically only going to be two people, Doctor
Mhm.
Who and the action description person, with a small little 4 roles, like lines for someone else at the end.
Right.
But basically that's it. So, and we had like 6 people or more that want to be a part of it. And we're like,
Gonna
yeah,
work.
we have to pick something else, or, you know,
Mhm.
no one is going to be a part of it anyways. Just kidding.
I was prepared to
Um,
make grunts for the monster in that one, if need be.
Yeah. We were going to do like, all right, everyone reads a different part of the action description or something.
Or
but-
the doctor, yeah, because I'm like, it is the one character where it's part of the character that they're played by multiple people. So that was another one that I pitched as like, I don't know how you're going to do this, but
yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, would love to come back, especially if there's a good villain in there. I'd love to take a crack at one of those, but depends on what the script is.
Yeah.
Which
We're
episode
probably
you
gonna,
pick?
we're going to probably do that same episode again, which I think is Heaven Sent. But
Mhm.
we're going to wait for one of the days we have to readjust the script again, because it's a script that has a lot of people, for a lot of people, but we have barely very few people available. So that's when we'll probably end up doing that script. It's nice to have certain scripts available with a large cast or a small cast, just in case we have to adjust.
It is. I
And
didn't tell you this,
awesome to
but-
have great people that can adapt. So thank you. All right, sorry,
Mhm.
Angel. Go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I didn't tell you this, but Vicky's husband found the one with Van Gogh. However you want to say his name.
If you guys haven't
Ooh.
watched Doctor Who,
Oh,
anybody
God.
here,
Mhm.
like the one we're about to read, haven't said, oh man, it's so good. But the
Mhm.
Van Gogh one, that is also a great episode. And the way the actor plays it, oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. Like, again,
Mhm.
anybody that's like, not a fan of Doctor Who or watched the very, very first one, like years and years and years ago, people told me, oh, watch Doctor Who. I watched the first episode. And for me, that turned me off at that time.
Yeah, it's not the one to watch.
No, but like, there's a ton of good ones, and I think it's great, and I
Mhm.
think it's all worth watching. But the first one might throw you off. But go watch the Van Gogh one, and
Mhm.
then judge based on that, and then see if you want to watch more or follow.
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay, well,
And
so maybe
I'm
we will do a different one. All right, go ahead, Vicky.
I'm fond of Matt Smith as the doctor. I think
Mm.
he plays him really in a very playful way.
Yeah, it was always that cool contrast of the playfulness that sort of is, you know, deep down there's a sadness, deep down there's, you know, someone who's a little darker. I always love that dichotomy when it came to him.
Yeah, it seems like most of them were kind of a little unlikable to me at first, and then I learned to like some of them, like them. Yeah. All right. If you guys have other thoughts, bring them. Otherwise, I'm looking up what we're scheduled to do next week.
Ooh.
As we saw with this week, it can change, but we try to stick by it. We usually stick by it. All right. So we'll have to put out another poll to make sure people are available and interested. And
This one really does, like you said, it has such a sweetness to it. It really does. And their relationship just, it gets so like the yearning, and it's so sweet, the two of them, but they can't
and the
touch, they can't
pies are so sweet too.
have that.
And he can never taste them. He can't eat them.
Yes.
because-
All the sweetness in his life that's just beyond his fingertips.
So currently for next week, which we'll probably continue with, we have the pilot for Lost.
Oh, right.
That's what's
Yeah.
scheduled.
I wonder if he ate a rotten fruit, if it would.
Like the first bite definitely would be good, but I wonder about bites after. I mean, he's still touching it. Hasn't left the touch yet, so it might stay all the way through him. Yeah.
That's pretty
Get
hard.
an
Because, I mean, everything he eats has to be either a plant or an animal. I mean, everything had to be alive at one point.
Yeah.
But-
Well, again, like this, he says no animals, because imagine if that starts moving. Never mind, don't imagine it. Just kidding.
But if he were to make himself a pie with fresh fruit, he could do all right. It's just that he
Yeah.
gets rotten fruit for really cheap. So it's quite a business model.
But again, like the thing about this, it's a unique idea. It has these rules and different things you got to figure out or built into it. But I think that's kind of cool because we don't have. Can you guys think of? There's probably certain things that are similar, but where this has done before, these rules, it's like, because a lot of people say, oh, everything's been done before, and you can go tie this to other stuff. But for a lot, like it feels kind of fresh, new, and
It
you got to
does.
figure out things.
And whether there's been people who could bring others back from the dead or not, yeah, that's happened, but not in this way.
Right.
So it does feel fresh. Yeah.
It's only mostly dead.
She's going back to Princess Bride.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Yeah, so good.
yeah,
Nice.
we've done some good
And
ones.
again, I don't know, for other filmmakers stuff, that movie's so good. And when it first came out, it wasn't a huge hit. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know how to market it. They're like, is it an action movie? Is it a romance? Is it this? It's like, I think
It's
when
everything.
when the genres were a little more separated, now we're cross genre a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I saw a different thing with Rob Reiner. That was the director, right? I went to some other screening of stuff with a Q&A for him, and give it that the thing was a little more political, but him who made Princess Bride, and what was the other one, Turned Up to 11, like he's made all these huge hits. He was saying he couldn't get anyone to fund his film, and you'd be like, what this huge director can't get people to fund his stuff? And he said no, he couldn't, and had to fund it himself with other things or methods. So just to let people know that sometimes the big people, they still have a struggle getting their
Was
script
it
made,
because
getting their
that
movie
was
made.
such a different one from what he's normally doing, or?
I think that's a big part of it. I think
Okay.
I do think so.
Like if someone who's in drama, like a mostly dramatic roles, wants to be in a comedy sort of thing, they might be like, I don't know about you.
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
prove-
They would have to like
Mhm.
probably say, hey, I won't take my thing. I'll only take things on the back end or work out
Mhm.
some deal or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Cool.
That backdrop behind you, like someone else mentioned, Heather was, but that does look like Warner Brothers backlot. I mean, it's all CG, obviously CG, but the
Right.
buildings themselves look like the ones
Oh, the
that,
built here.
Yeah, might have been modeled after it.
yeah. So if they ever have to film it and then have to like do a matchup or something,
Hmm.
I do recognize some of those.
Yeah, if they ever go outside.
When I worked over there, what's her name again? Kristen or
Kristen Chenoweth.
yes, I saw her walking on the lot there. It was kind of
Ah.
cool. I'm bad at recognizing people. The person I was with had to point her out to me. But it's like, what? You don't know, but she's the Broadway superstar, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, I watched Pretty Daisies, loved her. That. But
Mhm.
yeah.
I didn't recognize Keanu Reeves because I hadn't seen him for a lot of things, and then I was like, he looks an awful lot like Keanu Reeves, and then I looked him up. Oh,
I passed by Jonathan Frakes at the grocery store today. I didn't say anything, but I was just like, would he be annoyed or impressed if I call him, number one? But I didn't say anything.
Jonathan, what's his name?
Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh,
Is
too
that's
bad
the
Heather's
Riker.
not here.
okay, right, okay. If Heather was here, she would know off the bat. And I maybe Kat and Vicky did, but I've seen it, but I don't know the name.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about now that you say that. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. All
All
right.
right. Yeah. Thank you guys. This
I'm-
has been fun. and
It
stuff.
is.
Or what was the word that you heard about it, Ben? It was called.
Charming.
This has been charming.
Mhm.
Or later, as he would, Ned would say, delightful.
Mhm.
I think that was in the script. All right, you guys. Have a great week. Have a great night.
Have a delightful week.
Have a delightful, charming
A
week.
charming one, even.
And we shall see you next week if you don't get lost.
All right, good night.
Very
Good night.
good.